Hi everybody, Adrian here, just tuning in, checking in. We're just a couple of minutes away from beginning the show. So I am all ready to go, really super excited. And I'm really looking forward to today's show. I think it's going to be a great show. And I'm just now finding the space where I'm going to be live. And here we go. I can see myself on the screen, which is absolutely fantastic. It means that I'm all set and ready to go here in any moment. So welcome, and just get yourself nice and comfy, get a cup of tea if you need to. We'll be going off in about 1 minute's time. I like to start right on the spot on midday. So I'm all organized this week. Last week was a little bit of a challenge, and this week it looks like everything is in order. So absolutely fantastic. Okay, so hello and welcome to the Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery Show. And I'm super excited to be here. And today it's all about life mastery. Today is all about how to bring more life mastery into your life, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So what I'd like to do is to begin the session, if we may, with just tuning in, just checking in. And I'd like to do that with a very short meditation. So as long as you're not driving right now and you're sitting somewhere where you can just join me if you choose to, just in a short meditation, just to set the scene for the Where Am I Right Now Life Mastery Show. This is how I start all my webinars when I'm working with my clients and students. And I think it'll be a wonderful thing here because meditation is such a big part of living a spiritual life. So let's just take a moment. Closing your eyes if you choose to, or having a nice soft focus in front of you. Just becoming aware of my voice. Just becoming aware of your breathing. Nice, soft in-breaths. And nice, soft out-breaths. In-breath and out-breath. Allowing the breathing to be soft and flowing. If any thoughts come, just let them float on by, let them go. Focusing on the breathing. Wonderful. And when you're ready, just coming back to the screen. And fantastic. And it looks like I might have Sarah's name on the bottom of the screen, but that's okay. Love sharing. Sarah's all part of the family, part of all this with the spiritual events directory, of course, and the spirituality show. So just for now, Sarah, happy to have your name side by side with Adrian, and rather than fiddling around changing it. So all in, sharing together. That's the name of the game. So what I'm going to ask people to do, if they'd like to, is in the column underneath, is if you have a question around life mastery, then I'd ask you to pop that question in. Remember, I'm not here doing any psychic work today, so it's not about, can you please tell me whether my relationship's going to work or not from a psychic perspective, but you might want to ask a question around that from an empowering perspective of asking a question around it. Adrian, what do you think I should do in terms of my communication with my partner, etc.? So we'll keep it in that vein, where you're going to ask me a question about what you might be able to do from a practical perspective, rather than Adrian tuning in and using the psychic ability of looking beyond into the spirit realm and give you answers in that space. This is what this show is. Is not what the show is about. This show is about you asking me questions and me bringing that from that perspective of life mastery. Although, you know, who knows? Some intuition often is in play, and I'll certainly be using that intuition when and where needed. So if you do have a question, please do pop it up on the screen, and I will see if something comes up there for me. So please do write a comment in the screen. I'm just going to test that by saying hi to myself. There we go. I can say hi. So if you do have a question, then please pop it in the comments there, and I will certainly answer that question. But while I'm waiting for a question to pop up on the screen, I will share a little bit about the Where Am I Right Now process. So I've written a book called Where Am I Right Now? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually is the focus, and I have lots of other aspects around that too. So I look at the creative, where am I right now in my creative life, my relationship, in my vocation, in my health and well-being, in my fitness. So there's many other aspects of asking that question, where am I right now? And I do have a question on the screen. What should I do in my career perspective? So Patricia, I work a lot with my clients in terms of vocation, career, and job. And I say a lot of it is about getting clear on what you really want to do. And you may be in a job now that's serving you on some level, but is it really what you want to be doing in terms of your medium and long-term future? Yeah. And I'd answer that, say, by spend some time really getting a sense of what it is you want to do as a career path forward. And then getting a little bit of a plan around that. So getting a clear plan, getting your vision right on what you want to do in terms of your career. So you might well just want to type another comment in there and elaborate on that a little bit, Patricia, if you wouldn't mind, of asking, what is that career? Are you currently in a career? Are you looking for a new career? And then I can certainly support you a little bit more. But the first thing is get the vision and then get some planning in perspective. What do you need to do to get that career happening for yourself? So I also lay out a very clear career, job, vocation plan, and what are the steps to get to where I want to go to. But I always say, whatever we do in life, start with the vision, what you actually want to do. So that'll be step one. And then the planning, and then putting the plan actually into action. And oftentimes that is actually working with somebody like myself to really help you to break through and reach that place that you really want to get to. So I hope that's answered your question. If you want to elaborate a little bit more, then please just do type in a little bit more about that. So Rachel, what is the best practice to balance the inner feminine and the inner masculine? That is an absolute great question, because there's so much in the media right now, on social media right now, about masculine, feminine, about the gender equality, about the balance of being gender. And we all have the masculine and feminine aspect within us. And getting into that balance is a really important part, because from that masculine perspective, it's all about the doing perspective. It's all about getting out there and bringing that Saturn, masculine, get it done, form energy. And of course, the feminine is more about the moon energy of bringing in the intuitive side and the holding space that the feminine does so well. So when we bring those two qualities in, of course, if you're a female, then you bring in the more that feminine quality on the outer side of your life, and more inner masculine. And the opposite is for males. We have the external masculine, but the inner feminine. And it depends what you mean by bringing that balance in more. The first thing I'd say to you, Rachel, and anybody else watching in, is where do you feel like it's out of balance? If you're not in balance, take some time out, get a pencil and some paper, pen and paper, and write down the aspects of your masculine and feminine and ask yourself the question, where are they out of balance right now? Where am I right now in my masculine and feminine balance? And then ascertain where they might be out of balance. And then you can look at how to bring them back into balance by actually listing them. I'm a great believer in listing. So I hope that helps a little bit for you, Rachel, there. Patricia, yes, I love what I do, but not happy with the environment. I'm a teacher's aide. Okay, so if you're happy with what you love doing and you're simply not happy in the environment, then it might be, how do you change the environment? Do you need to step out of the environment, or do you need to change it from the inside? And that might mean to have some conversations with the people that are actually in that space with you. What do you need to change the environment? You may have to have some difficult conversations, perhaps. And that's a challenge of working in, with other people. Sometimes you have to have a challenging conversation to change the environment. How do you see the environment? Do you have a vision for that environment for yourself? And if you do, what does that look like? And maybe then take that to whoever you need to take it to and say, look, can we change the environment? If it's environmental but connection with people, maybe the environment is the people, and there's not much synergy between the people, then that's how do you work through that process? How do you get to a deeper, more conscious communication and connection with the people you work with? So they're the questions I will be asking in that space for you, Patricia. So you love working with kids and teenagers. I absolutely do too. And I've done a lot of work over the years working with kids and teenagers. Just for clarity for where Adrian's at, I actually have 6 adult children now from a blended family, and my eldest is 31, my youngest is 18. So we've certainly been through the child and teenage years with our blended family, and pretty amazing journey. But yeah, I hope that's helped you there, Patricia. So if anybody else has any more questions, please do fire those questions away. This is what this is all about, is trying to support you on the journey into bringing more life mastery into your life. And a couple of things, if you pop across to adrianhanks.com, which is my website, you'll see there are quite a few resources in there. A few of them are free. There's a great journal on there that's a free download. You just simply download, take it to a printer's and get it bound to print it, somewhere like Officeworks. And you can do that. And I find by journaling every day, it really helps us to be in that space of where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, creatively, and all those different aspects. What about if they're not supportive? Okay, then Patricia, just on that, if they're not supportive, do you have a peer that you can go to? Do you have somebody in charge, a boss, that you can actually sit down and have a conversation with, and then have a chat to them about how you're not feeling that the environment's supportive? And actually speak about the things you need to speak about. It's not always a easy process, but we have to find that courage sometimes to do that. So I say, is there somebody you can go and speak to, or is there somebody that can actually advocate on your behalf? It might be a third party that's nothing to do with the organization, for instance. And that's all legal and binding. You have absolutely every right in any employee situation where you have the right to go and speak and have somebody advocate for you. So I didn't know if you know that, but you actually have that right. And so I've spent the most part of my life in masculine energy, always pushing to get things done. I quit my corporate job. Okay, so it's about bringing more of the feminine quality into your life, Rachel. I'd be asking, what does that look like for you? How would you like to bring that feminine in? And sometimes, particularly if you've stepped out of the corporate world like you suggested, sometimes it's just a matter of the clothes you're wearing. Getting into that feminine space of whatever that means for you. If you've been in a corporate world, you may be a bit sort of masculine in your dress. So what can you do in terms of bringing in that feminine quality in the way you look? And then what does it look like to communicate more on the feminine perspective? Very, very important to drop into that. So a couple of little key things there for you. So a question here from Terry. Need to know if my doctor's appointment will be successful. Well, Once again, Terry, just letting you know, I'm not doing any psychic work today. This is about just empowering you to take this on board for yourself. So in terms of that question, a great question, will my doctor's appointment be successful? Well, it'll be successful in the way you take yourself into that appointment and the way you hold yourself in terms of your sense of self. Because oftentimes what we do when we go in to see doctors and other, so-called, the professionals in the world, we can lose ourselves in that. We give our power over to these people. So the first thing, if we go and see any professional, is not to lose our power. We are the sovereignty, we are ourselves. So don't give away your power to anybody. Because, there's some great doctors out there and they do some great work, but a lot of doctors, in terms of the rapport with people, some of them are just not very good at it, sadly. And they have a, superior, there's a process of being superior, and they will tell us things. I was speaking to a friend yesterday, just a little side story, who's been battling with cancer, and some of the stories he was telling me about the way he was treated when he went to see specialists, it was pretty appalling. And it was quite clear, he did stand in his power as much as he could, and it's a challenge, and not to be spoken to in a certain way, and asking for what we want. So it depends what you're there for, going to see the doctor for, but stay in your power. That in itself will be a success for you, by being and staying in your power. Hope that helps, Terry. And yeah, Patricia, I got your message. If it's about that one person, then what's the next level of taking that to some arbitration place or some place of conflict resolution? Because there's always another step. What is the company policy around that? So you might have to go a bit legal. Sometimes we just simply have to. It takes a bit of courage, a bit of vulnerability, but if you're not happy, sometimes we have to step into that next space. So hope that helps. So just going back to the journal, go to the website, download that journal. It's a great resource there for you, and it's always good to have resources in your life. And one of the biggest resources that I share with people in my work is asking oneself that question: where am I right now? So, for instance, for Terry, when you walk in, before you walk into the doctor's surgery or into the appointment space, and you're in the waiting room, ask yourself the question: where am I right now in my emotions? Where am I right now in terms of my sense of self? And in that moment, if you're feeling out of sorts, if you're not feeling in alignment with that, make the choice to bring you in. Make the choice to be empowered in that moment. So asking yourself the question is the first stage, and then bringing yourself back to alignment is the second stage. Very, very powerful process. And if you can use it as often as you can, on the hour, every hour, is a really good time to use it. So another question for you from Ayla Jade. I feel extremely distant and aggravated with my partner at the moment. I don't know why or how I can change myself. Okay, so first thing, I do a lot of couples work, lots of couples counseling and coaching. And the biggest thing in all relationships is the communication. If you're feeling distant and aggravated with your partner, can you create the space to share it, talk about it? Firstly, for yourself, what is that distance and what is that aggravation? Name that for yourself. And then create the space with your partner where you can sit and talk. And I say, in a relationship, once a week, to sit and talk, like you would a business meeting. Sit and light a candle. If you're not meeting regularly to talk, create the space. Put things on the table. And actually speak. I'm feeling a bit aggravated or aggrieved with you right now. I just need to express that. I want to get beyond that because our relationship's important to me. I'm feeling a bit distant from you right now. What can we do together to feel more connected? And asking yourself, Ayla Jade, what is that distance? Why are you feeling distant from your partner? Is it something you've done, he's done? Is it an emotional distance, a physical distance? What can you do to bring yourself back together again? But the first thing I would suggest is the communication. And if it needs a third party, call out and get some third party. Whether it's myself or somebody else, have a Zoom session, bring your two people in on the screens, you can sit together or in separate rooms and how that mediation is a very powerful process. I do it a lot. Sometimes the couples are sitting together and sometimes they're actually in different rooms, but the three of us share the Zoom space. Or if they live close to me, obviously, then I can see them in person as well, offline. So I hope that helps you. And Beverly, hugging is amazing. So I'll take that as a statement. And yeah, it absolutely is, you know, hugging, particularly with our partners, is just a beautiful space. Hey, and Jody, beautiful Jody. Great to tune in and check in with you. Thank you. Hi, beautiful universal energy returns right now. Look, universal energies, from my perspective, Jody, they're always intense. You know, there's always something going on from the universe, all that cosmic energy is flying down, and it's about how we deal with it. You know, where am I right now in my own energy field? Where am I right now in my own boundary? Where am I right now in my own alignment? So yeah, you know, the universal energies, they're intense every single moment of the day for me. But it's how do I deal with that? And how do I not let them affect me? And how can I make the choice of how to use that energy in a positive way, choosing the energies that come in? And just to share a little story of something, I have a saying, and I use this with myself and with my students, with my clients. If it's not invited, it's not allowed in. So if there's a universal energy out there that I don't want to engage with, then I don't invite it in. My boundary is there to stop it. I am powerful enough and big enough to stop any energy from entering my space if I choose not to have it there. Where am I right now in my personal boundary? Yep. So yeah, absolutely. Good thing to focus on, universal energy. So Terry, Adrian, will I have a successful surgery? Look, I'll share something with you, Terry, a little bit of a personal story, and I know my partner won't mind me sharing because she says she doesn't mind sharing her story anymore publicly, is my partner recently had to go in for some surgery just several weeks ago before we moved up to the Gold Coast from Sydney. And what my beautiful partner, Arlene, does before she goes in anywhere, particularly in hospital, doctor, surgeries, she sits and she visualizes what she needs. And I'm telling you, when she goes into that space, and she just did recently, like 7 weeks ago in surgery, she created the space in her mind of what she wanted. And she says she only allows angels to come and visit her and work with her while she's in the hospital space. And when I'm with her in that space, nearly 99.9% of the time, she gets a private ward. It's public hospital, and she gets a private ward. The people who come to her are absolutely the top of their profession. I know several years ago when she had different surgery, she had specialists flying in to come and work on her because of what they were working with. So she has the physical angels arriving from all that fraternity. And then, of course, she has the non-physical angels arriving too to support her. So set it up in your mind. What do you want to create? What sort of people do you want around you? The top surgeons, the top doctors, the top nurses, the top carers, even the people that come to bring you a cup of tea. No sourpusses. Arlene just does not get them. She gets the absolute most amazing success of coming out of it. And what is successful surgery? It's a big question in terms of the physical side of it, because we all have to go through different aspects of our journey, different karma, different connections. But I'm sure in whatever you bring in and choose to bring in, with your mindset, it'll be successful in whatever way you want to make it successful. Successful in terms of what you learn from it, successful in the healing process. But beyond that, Terry, I'll suggest, what are you doing for yourself to make it successful in terms of your well-being, your diet, your exercise? Are you drinking, great water? Are you eating good, clean, organic food that's really going to be, high energy? Have you got the right things to take with you? Are you looking after yourself? That's success for me as well. So that'll be the focus. So I hope that supports and helps you. So Beverly, maybe I don't need to change yourself. Maybe. Okay, yeah. So there's a bit of support coming in there from Beverly. Thanks, Beverly. Ayla, this is possible. Thank you. I don't want to. Yeah, thank you, Ellie. Yes, sit down and have a conversation with him. You know, if you're in a relationship, if you love each other, surely you can actually sit and have a conversation, have a communication. That'll be the step one. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You just got to create that space. Create that space. What do you want in your surgery? Bring in the angels. It's quite amazing. And I'll tell you, at one space, we had such an amazing hospital experience in one of the hospitals in Brisbane a few years ago, that when I was in a hospital, Arlene was in there for a few days, the nurses gave me access into their staff kitchen to go and help myself with food and drink. I mean, that's pretty unheard of in that fraternity. And we had such a great team around us with the nurses and the doctors. Yeah, they gave me access. I'll come into the staff tea room and sit and join us and come and have a cup of tea. It was incredible. So yeah, create it. And yeah, hi Anne, yeah, great to see you too. You know, we shared some beautiful times together on Soul TV previously, and it's so lovely to see you too. I'm so loving this, and I know you are too. And it's just a beautiful space to be in with this great community that Sarah has created. Beverly, yep. Yeah, thank you, Beverly. Yeah, she is a very lucky lady. I'm actually going to take that. I'm going to accept that as a compliment, and I'm going to bring that compliment into my heart. So thank you very much. It's wonderful to take on compliments and allow it into my being. So thank you. We do have an incredible relationship. Not always easy because we do want a really conscious relationship, and of course, the more conscious we want it, obviously, the more the universe throws at us to challenge us to keep it conscious. So we do have our challenges in keeping it that way, but we do endeavor to support each other and be open-minded with each other as well, and bring in that power of the universe. So thank you, Beverly. So any more questions out there? Any more questions on life mastery? Remember, just a reminder, I'm not using my psychic abilities in this today. This is just more practical on how I can support you in bringing more life mastery into your life. This is a great forum. I love answering the questions, and it's a great opportunity for you to ask those questions too. So once again, you know, do pop over to the website, adrianhanks.com, download some of the free resources on there, have a look at some of the different pages. There's lots and lots on there, lots of different programs and different things. I've got lots of great little video snippets on there, some really funny ones. There's a great little video on there actually on bullying. So I think there was a question here about, you know, bringing ourselves in. And if you go to the media page on my website, adrianhanks.com, there's an image of a grizzly bear, and there's a video recording there of a true story I shared about holding ourselves and not dealing with bullies. So there's lots of great little resources on there. There's lots of things to flick through and have a look at. Come and join up, connect up, and be part of the wider community. And thank you, Terry. It's nice to know that I can be a spiritual comfort for you. That's what this is all about. This is what this show is all about, is supporting you, guiding you, and hopefully positively challenge you to bring that life mastery into your life a little bit more. Because then we can become masters of our own destiny. We can actually walk forward in confidence in our lives of getting what we want. Because it's like in life, there's always growth. Because when we stop growing, then we stagnate. And this is all about growing every single moment, every single day. It's about how can I grow physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, of course. So Jody's got something to say. It's time for me. Yeah, absolutely. Look, the male and female species are so different on so many levels, and so the same on so many levels. And it's about how do we engage and bring that unity of the masculine and the feminine into our lives, whether that's ourselves and balancing that, or whether that's with our partner and balancing that. Because I know, as I've spoken before, there's so much out there right now about trying to bring in this gender equality and trying to be, you know, how do we work with the masculine and feminine? And Arlene says to me, Adrian, I love your masculine energy. You know, I say, if a little bit of a story, if Arlene and I are walking down the street and suddenly there's somebody that's walking towards us, as, you know, stoned or drunk or acting violently, well, I'm the masculine energy that's going to protect her. I wouldn't expect Arlene to bring out her masculine energy to protect me in that space. One reason, I'm physically stronger. One reason, like practical. So when people talk about, that there shouldn't be a difference between masculine and feminine energy, I actually don't agree with that, because there are times when that masculine energy, when we're in that, is really, really important. Really important. Likewise, if I'm wanting that feminine comfort, and there's nothing like feminine comfort, we can give masculine comfort, but when we're in that space of the feminine, think, Mary Magdalene, the ultimate feminine energy of love and hugs and connection. There's nothing like connecting to the feminine in that space. So I do believe in the masculine and the feminine, and I do believe they're different. And yet we are so similar in many ways too. So for me, the joining of that masculine feminine it's impossible for me, because I search for that. I like the masculine, I like the feminine, because there's different components that suit me in my life. So yeah, we're very, very different. Jody, you're very, very right. Very, very right. And in our behaviors, we can be quite different in our masculine, feminine behaviors as well. But when it comes to life mastery, whether we're male or female, or, if we identify with something else as well, that's okay. Then bringing ourselves into the life mastery process, it doesn't matter what gender we are, because it's all about holding ourselves in that realm of life mastery. What can I do every single day to make my own choices, to empower myself in my choices? Yeah. Yes, women are so capable of huge multitasking. Yeah, and but look, I hear that statement. I hear that statement a lot, that women multitask a lot more than men, and it's true to some degree, but I also know lots of men who multitask a lot better than some women. So it's a generalization again that has truth, but once again, there's always in the generality, there's always room for that as well, because I can multitask in a lot of things. I can hold a nail and hit it at the same time with a hammer. That's multitasking. But yeah, there's a lot of truth in a lot of what's said, but there's also a lot of confusion around it too. So yeah, my busy mind does, Gregin. Yeah, and I have a very busy mind too, and it does Arlene, and Arlene has a busy mind and does me, and so and some of us are a bit more practical in the way we go around things, and a lot more of us are a bit more eclectic. So yeah, good to share. Good to share on online. And Beverly's having a good old giggle and a good old laugh, and it's great to do that, because laughter is one of the greatest things. And one of the things I say in terms of life mastery, and part of my program, what I share with people on one of the 12 weeks in the 12-week program, is bringing in fun into one's life. Where am I right now in terms of fun? Where am I right now in terms of bringing that into my life, bringing joy into my life? And I joke a little bit at what I've written about in my book is having a joy club, setting up a joy club and making sure that everybody has joy in their life every single day. Because I think joy is the ultimate human experience that we're all born with. And then sadly, we learn to bring and take joy out of our lives. But if you look at a baby, look at young children, they are full of joy. It's what we arrive with on this planet. Joy, one of the key elements. And then sadly, for a lot of people, that joy is removed. We remove the joy from our lives. We can blame other people for removing it, but ultimately we're the ones that take it out of our lives. And we can be responsible for bringing joy back into our lives again. Having a laugh. I've got a friend, Dave, in Brisbane, who runs a laughter group, actually, Tuesday nights in Brisbane. I think there's one on Saturday up there too, outside, but he does the Tuesday night indoor group. And it's a laughter group. They're all over the world. And it was Dave's birthday just a few days ago. And I phoned him up and I gave him a good laugh on the telephone for his birthday. And he phoned me back. Actually, it was just yesterday. He phoned me back to have a conversation about something else we're doing. And on all our telephone conversations, we always take time for a 30-minute laugh. And it's just a beautiful thing to do. And it's a reminder to keep the joy going, to keep the laughter going. So Beverly, thank you for those beautiful smiley, tearful, laughing emojis. And it's good to get into that space of laughter. So thank you. Any more questions in there in terms of life mastery? Is there anything you'd like to know about life mastery, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, sexually, intimately, creatively, vocationally, somewhere in your health and well-being? And if there is, please post the question up here and I will endeavor to answer that for you. So let's see what comes up. Yep, so many frequencies can squash our happy if we're not responsible for checking in. And as I said before, we have a responsibility of whether we let those frequencies in or not. And I know in this work, particularly around the spiritual fraternity, is a lot of people call themselves empaths. You know, we're all empathic. Everybody's got empathy. But some people take it on board in a big way and they put themselves right out there as empaths. And what I've found over the years of working in this fraternity space for now well over 20 years, and I meet lots of people who say to me, Adrian, I'm an empath. And sadly, with a lot of empaths, they haven't learned healthy boundaries. And they do get squished. They do lose their energy. They do let people walk through them and over them. And it's quite sad to see that because they get depleted. Their energy fields get depleted very, very quickly. And what I do when I'm working in that space with people who, call themselves an empath, put themselves out an empath, and if they don't have that personal healthy boundary, I work with them and teach them about how to do that, how to bring in the boundary. What does it do to be able to say no? To hold yourself in that space, not to let those entities and those beings, those frequencies in. It takes a lot of energy sometimes to learn it, but once you've learned it, it's quite easy. Now you're not coming in. And there's a very profound esoteric story that I want to share that really explains this really well. And it's an esoteric story that's been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. But rather than calling it an esoteric story now, we call it a children's story. Like many of the children's stories that we've learned and share with our children, they come from an esoteric storytelling perspective originally, and they're not really used in that way anymore. They're just taught the children as stories. And it's the story of the three little pigs, because the three little pigs build three houses, one of straw, one of sticks, and one of bricks. And that represents the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. And the thing that's coming in is the energy of the wolf. The wolf is representative of that negative energy, that frequency. And the three little pigs have to learn that they have to build a strong house because the straw isn't strong enough, the sticks aren't strong enough. And when you build that strong boundary made of bricks, then that wolf, that negative energy cannot come in. And if it does, we simply burn it up. So there's your esoteric story for today. So Jody, thank you for sharing that. And I've got a story here from Beverly. I'm suffering with PTSD. Look, that's a very, when you come out of a relationship where it hasn't been healthy or in any situation, then the PTSD can really take hold of us. So the question is, what are you doing about that PTSD? What are you doing every single day? Have you got a therapist to work with? Have you got a healer to work with? Have you got back into that? Have you retold the story in a new fashionable way so you can take away the old story? If you keep carrying the old story, the PTSD will remain. And as I work, more and more in this field of endeavor of healing in my coaching and in my psychotherapeutic work, it's all about creating a new story for yourself, releasing that PTSD, working with that so you're not carrying that anymore. And what can you do? Are you doing everything in your power, Beverly, to work beyond the old story into a new story? Because, the name here is I was in a narcissistic relationship. Yep. And that's a label for an old story. So what are you choosing to step into a new story now? Can you redefine yourself in a new way? Can you do that? I know I'm asking a lot, but start that process of taking away the old story, creating a new story, not carrying any more labels anymore of how you were or what it was. Owning it, of course, because it was part of your history, but not talking about it anymore, not bringing that up anymore. and not staying in the same label of how you label yourself in that, as if you like, as the victim. How can you empower yourself more to get out of the victim space? Because one of my favorite things I do, and it's a bit of a fun thing, I do take my work seriously, but sometimes with clients I have to have a bit of fun to break through. And I love sticky labels. And sometimes I'll have a client coming in and telling me they're a victim of some circumstance, you know, and I do take it seriously, but sometimes to break through, we have to crack it in a different way. And I get my sticky labels and I get them to write down all the different labels they have for themselves in terms of that victim space. And it might be, I can't speak, I can't talk, I can't do this, I can't do this, I'm feeling disempowered, whatever label they have. I get them to write them on sticky notes, and when they're done, I get them to stick the sticky notes on themselves and I get them to see how many labels they've given themselves. And then slowly by slowly, we take one and we read it, and then we go through an empowering process of empowering them so they don't have to keep carrying those labels. Very, very, very powerful. Very powerful. So that might be something to do, you know, how are you labeling yourself? And how can you move through that perfectly? It may take some time. It obviously does with PTSD. There's different levels. You know, some very, very deep post-traumatic stress disorder. Yep. And I'm not quite sure what you're going through, but going through that. And the boundary is very important in PTSD work, as is meditation, as is eating healthily, as is, you know, self-care, self-love, all those different things. Yep. And boundary crossing is, you know, that artistic space. It's a word that's being used a lot now in the couples space. Once again, I choose not to use labels with any of my clients because, you know, once we start labeling people, whether it's the victim or the perpetrator, then we get into the him, her, him, her, him space. And I try to avoid that as much as possible by not labeling situations or people and breaking free of all that labeling. It's a new paradigm to step into, is getting out of the blame and getting into the empowerment space. So I recognize, you know, you've had some trauma around that, but how can you now move beyond that? I think that's the important thing for that as well. So yeah, use the sticky note process. Have a look, you know, for a bit of fun for yourself. Where are you labeling yourself? Can you sticky label them, peel them off and look at them and say, how can I move beyond that old story? So fantastic. Cody, hi Adrian, nice to meet you. I've enjoyed listening, absolutely beautiful, very insightful. I'm enjoying my path journey. Lots of self-healing, heal myself. Yeah, thank you, Cody. It's great to feel empowered, isn't it? And like I say to everybody, it's work in progress. I'm a work in progress. We're all works in progress. There's always growth. There's always more. I say to people, if you're living that 80-20 principle in your life, can you then work to get an 81-19? Can you then work to get 85-15? Can you then work to get the 90-10 principle in your life? Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in relationship, in your vocation, in your health and well-being, in your creativity, in your fun, in your sexuality, in your intimacy. Can you keep working on it? But it's about identifying which ones need working on. And that's why, once again, I want to go back to that journal. If you go to my website, adrianhanks.com, and download that journal, it's got all those 10 life aspects in there, and you can journal every day, and you can start to get a vision of where you are in that 70-30, 80-20, 90-10 principle in your life, and get to see in which aspects you need to put a bit more time, energy, and effort to bring yourself up into that. So very, very, very powerful process in that, because, you know, you can get to 80-20 from a 60-40, you know, in a few months. You really can. But then going from 80-20 to say 80-18 might also take a few months, because when we start to work from that higher end, those percentages, the energy and the effort to get those smaller energies are similar to the big energies when we begin the journey of personal and spiritual development. So it's a really good diagram to have for yourself. You know, 60-40, you know, to 80-20, yep, a few months, and it can be done. But then when you want to go from that 80-20 to, you know, 85-15, it's still a lot of months, because those percentages is a lot of difficult work because you're tweaking and tweaking and tweaking constantly. So thank you. Helen Gray, wow, advice I've been needing. Great, it's good to give advice that's needed. Otherwise, it's pretty pointless giving the advice. So I hope you are taking it in and really clear with yourself of what it is you want to change in your life to bring more life mastery into your life, because this is what this is all about. I'm a great advocate for people becoming empowered. It's the basis of all my work. Where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all those other aspects I keep sharing. And just to recap up what I was sharing previously about the where am I right now process, you can check this out where you set your alarm clock on the hour, every hour, beep, beep. And when you hear the alarm go off, that's when you ask yourself the question, where am I right now, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? And if you're not in alignment in that moment on the hour, every hour, you can choose to bring yourself back in by changing the current situation. You may have just had a conversation with somebody that wasn't great. And in that moment, you can choose to go back in that conversation and change it to make it a positive outcome. Yeah. Or you may be eating something in that moment that may be something that was very nice that you ate. So you might want to change that the next time and say, well, next time at lunchtime at 12 o'clock when I hear my alarm, I'm not going to have a Macca's, I'm going to have something healthy. Yeah, so there's a few ways you can change that. So it's a really good process to do on the hour, every hour from say 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. every single day. The where am I right now process. So Annette. Okay, so Annette, you've put this up publicly, so I share this. You say you've been in abusive relationships and you've covered every mirror in your house because of it. What an incredible thing to do. If you've covered every mirror, it means you're not looking at yourself. I can only read what I can see on the screen and then sort of tune into what I'm reading, but it sounds like you've lost that sense of self. Lost that sense of love because you can't look at yourself in the mirror. So how do you now learn to uncover those mirrors, look at yourself in the mirror and honor who you see, connect with who you see, get to love again who you see? And I'm not saying this can be done overnight. This is not an overnight process, I would imagine. This will be a slow process because you have to get through the abuse, and bring yourself out of the victim into the empowerment, changing the story, changing the paradigm, taking away those labels, and then getting the space where you can look at yourself in the mirror again and love what you see. So it may not be an easy process. You may need some support around it. If I can help you in any way on that, please let me know. And there's lots of other people I'm sure can help you as well. So, Cody. Yep, so please, do check out the website, check out the book, check out everything on the website, Cody. Go and have a look, and there is certainly plenty of resources and support on there, because that's what I've done, that's what I've created. I've been in this for over 20 years now, help people from on many levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and all those other aspects, online, offline, in retreats, in workshops, in lots and lots of things in there. And I just simply love sharing. And the joy I get from doing this is the big one for me. The money side of things is always one thing, of course, because we have to live in the material world. But the joy of just seeing people grow and get empowered is the work. It's just so beautiful to see. So yeah, thank you. Hugs and blessings to you, Nick. Yeah, hugs and blessings to everybody on the planet. Let's keep the love going, keep the love flowing, even when it's difficult. There are people in our lives that we have difficulties with often, and oftentimes what happens, and I want to share this because it sort of has come up in the thread a little bit today about being empowered and getting out of victim and getting out of blame, and it's so easy to blame others. It's so easy to blame somebody else for where we are right now in our life. And it's really sad because I love blaming too. It gets me off the hook. It means I don't have to take responsibility. It's so easy to blame. He did this, she did this, they did that. The government made me do this. This person made me do that. I'm in this situation because of you. Well, Not really, because we create our own reality. So either we do create our own reality or we don't. You have to make a choice. And if you don't, well, then you've got nobody to blame but yourself, because you have to create your own reality. And if you do create your own reality, it means then you have to stop blaming. You have to take full responsibility. And I know that's hard. I struggle with that one big time. Ask my partner, ask Arlene. It's so easy to blame somebody else. But when we do this work, when we get into the personal and spiritual development work, then we have to go beyond the blame. I've got a whole chapter in my book, about going beyond blame. So empowering. It's one of the most empowering and endearing things we can do for ourselves, is to move beyond blame. So if there's anybody on your blame list right now, right, get a piece of paper, write them down, and then let them go. It's a great exercise. Anybody right now, any blame in your life, small things, big things, family, friends, governments, gurus, past abusers, whatever, past partners, they're great ones to have on your list. These are blame, or ex-partners or ex-lovers, old friends. Because we let it happen. Really, that's the bottom line. We let it happen. And we have to move beyond that if we're going to step into this whole new community paradigm of living in a spiritual community. Very hard, very hard. But it's a very powerful thing to do. Oftentimes I'll write something down when I'm feeling I'm blaming somebody for something. Somebody didn't put me on a list, or somebody didn't do that. Well, where was my responsibility to follow up with that and say, oh, you forgot to put me on that list? Or can you explain to me, please, why you didn't put me on the list? Might be a better question, because I thought you told me you were going to. So following through with communication. Just to bring a bit of humor into this, I love a bit of humor. Humor is a great thing. And just to share that, my mastermind partner and I, every week we meet every Monday. We've been doing so for over 8 years now. And one of the big things we do a lot of FUs. And I want you to sit with that for a minute, because it's not what you think it is. FU. It means follow up. So I'm going to do a lot of follow up with myself. So I follow up with my clients, my students, with my mastermind partner, follow up with other people in terms of my business and my vocation. But where can I FU myself? Where can I follow up myself rather than blaming others? Where can I recreate the story for myself? Really, really important. So look, we've got 10 minutes left on the show. I just wonder if anybody's got any more questions out there. So Beverly, holding any resentment, not being able to forgive those people is just drinking poison. Must let it go. Send them love and blessings. Look, sending love and blessings is great. It's absolutely fantastic. Keep sending love and blessings. But I would suggest the other thing to do is to find out where that arrow is. And I'm just going to share something with you. This is one of my greatest therapeutic tools. Can you see what it is? It's a live, real arrow with a very, very sharp tip on the end. And when we have resentment, when we have blame, when somebody's inside us, when we haven't got that boundary up to stop that coming through, we wear that. We wear that wound. We wear those arrows. And most of us have got a whole array of arrows that stick in there. And then what happens is a similar situation, or that person or a word will come, it'll remind us of the situation, and bang, we feel the pain of the old story. We feel the pain of the old story. And then, of course, we project it back to the thing or the person or the situation we think has just caused that, because we've forgotten that it's actually an old story we've been carrying for sometimes 20 or 30 or 40 years. And then we let loose on the person that's triggered that old vibration, and it's just give us a wound. So that image, that wound image, Lunig, the greatest cartoonist, in my opinion, in Australia, did a great cover for that, of people walking around with the arrows and the wounds in their lives and then trying to communicate in this space. So very, very powerful to recognize where we have wounds, can we remove them? So send love and hugs to people, but also go in and look at what that wound is and where we're carrying the old story, and do the psychotherapeutic work that's needed to remove those wounds and to heal those wounds so we're not projecting those wounds onto other people. Yep, I love to give my tools and resources, Patricia. I've created these over the last couple of decades, and I love to share them with people because they're real beneficial, and they really work. They're time-tested tools that when you put them into place and work with them every day, they are time-tested and they actually work. I say to people, have 3 tools in your tool bag that you can go to in a nanosecond. So you don't have to Google them. You don't have to go searching for them in the first aid box. They're on tap, 24/7. In a nanosecond, you can bring them in. And everybody's different, but find 3 tools that work for you. Yeah, you find 3 tools. I use my power name, my power stance, yeah, my power words, and my meditation. They're my keywords I can bring in a nanosecond. And they help me to bring myself back into balance. So have them ready, write them down so that you know what they are. Get used to having them so you can name them straight away. My power tools that I use in my nanosecond are bang, bang, and bang. Great to have that in your forefront of your mind so you don't have to dig around in your subconscious mind to find the tools to bring you out of a given situation when you're triggered. Have them right there. Very, very powerful. So great to have people on here today. It's just wonderful to know that people actually tuning in, watching in, and sharing this live as well. Just wonderful. Sarah's done an amazing job putting all this together, putting all the experts together, putting all the people together here to come on and share their insights, share their wisdoms, share their thoughts, share their lives a little bit too. There's nothing like sharing our own experiences in this work too, to make it absolutely real. So, a big shout out for Sarah for bringing us all together, and I feel, honored to be part of this community. And you can see just below me right now, I've got Sarah's name proudly next to me, and decided to leave it up there to share with you, that Sarah has done this and she's a big part of this too. So just to close, look, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. So just wondering if there's any more questions out there from anybody. Just to ask, you might have already asked a question and it might have led you to a second question, because oftentimes when we ask a question, it takes us down a rabbit hole and then we have another question. And then we go down the rabbit hole and we have another question. And it just continues. It continues. If there's anything else out there, please do share. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yes, thank you. So any more questions out there for anybody? I just didn't wait for a moment, see if anything else comes up. Remember, all about life mastery. Okay, I can share a couple of other little things in terms of life mastery, and that's getting clear on your vision. On your vision. And what I'm doing right now with one of my groups, I've got several groups going through the year, and one of my groups is my mastermind group. I've got the Positive Impact mastermind group going for 12 months. We started in January, and there's a beautiful bunch of people in that. And we're working on our vision boards currently. Yeah, we've had a few sessions, and on Tuesday night, we meet every fortnight on Tuesday night on Zoom, the whole group, and we're currently working on our vision boards to get really clear on what it is to bring in our vision. Because when we have that visual, and when we focus and meditate on that visual, when we put that visual in front of us and on our phones and on our computers, and we start to change the subconscious thinking of what we want, then the universe starts to deliver. There's been a few threads here about universal energies. Well, one of the universal energies is gifting us what we actually put out for, the law of attraction. If I'm seeking something and I'm clear about what I'm seeking, the universe will deliver. But I have to be clear, because a lot of the time, because of the old paradigm, the old thought forms, the old patterning and the programming in the subconscious mind, means we're stuck in the old thought forms, we're stuck in the old programs, where even though we write it down, I want a new car, the old subconscious thinking is saying, who are you to deserve a new car? So until we change that thinking and completely almost erase that old thinking and those old beliefs and bring in the new ones and change the old ones for the new ones, take the old ones out, put new ones in, then things start to be delivered to us. But we have to work on that old paradigm. So vision boarding, writing down the vision, getting clear on the vision, You know, people say, oh, I want $10 million. Okay, write it down. I vision, I want $10 million. But then spend the time writing down how you're going to use it and spend it. Get clear on it, like, you know, really bring it into a practical component. Yep. So I've just got a question here, and this is probably the last question of the show from Patricia. How do we allow our teenage kids to grow without being overprotecting? I struggle with this as a single mum. I think protecting children is our role. Absolutely. Yep. Being overprotective. So it depends on the balance of what you mean by overprotecting. You know, if we're going to lock away the children in the ivory tower and let them not do anything and not let them burn their fingers and learn about burning and learn about making mistakes, that's overprotecting. But what I would say about protecting is doing things at the appropriate time. Because in this day and age, and what the children are learning, quite sadly, is everything is here and now, and I want it now. Yeah, and I think a great way, and I tried to do this with my children as much as I could. They may not always have enjoyed it, but always to give them the thing at the time when it's age appropriate. And I'll give you an example. Facebook. When is the appropriate age to put a child on Facebook? Well, the Facebook agreement is 13. 13. You're actually not supposed to have anything on Facebook till you're 13. Many children do. When is the right time to give a mobile phone to a child? When is the right time to have some sex education with a child? When is the right time to allow a child to have some alcohol? Is it allowable? Should it be there? And we're all different in our belief systems. So it's about tuning in and checking in. How am I protecting my child? What am I allowing my child to do at the right time for their development? Because we can easily allow our children to be overdeveloped too quickly. And then we run into all sorts of problems. Because if we give children at 7 something they shouldn't be getting till they're 11, and by the time they're 11, they want that thing that they should have been getting at 11. They want the thing that then a 15-year-old should be getting at 15 when they're 11. And then when children are 14 or 15, rather than getting things they should be getting at 14 or 15-year-old age appropriate, they want the thing at 20, 21, 22, which is adult, which is not usually good for their growth, not good for their etheric body in particular, let alone their physical body. The etheric body, the astral body, will go into loop-de-loops. It'll go into confusion. So I would say age appropriate. If you can take anything away, is it age appropriate for my child? And sometimes we have to go against the grain. All my friends get it at school and I don't. Tough. I love you enough. I love you enough not to let you go into that space. Tough love. You know, I call it the loving brick wall. And I was often the loving brick wall, you know, with my children, and they didn't always like it. And they've told me so. But I did it out of love. Okay, I made mistakes, you know, like it's the 80-20 principle. I'm not going to get it right all the time. But if I get it right 80% of the time, that's a fantastic outcome. So I would say that. And as a single mummy, it's really, really, really scary to let them go. But don't let the fear get in the way, Beverly. Do it appropriate, age appropriate, hold the love, and have conversations, communication with your teenagers, with your children. Okay, look, we've come to the top of the hour. I've really enjoyed this space today. I really, really have. Absolutely fantastic. And really look forward to connecting with you each and every Thursday, midday, Australia time, Australian Eastern Standard Time, midday every Thursday. Look forward to it. Best thing you can do to grow this community is to share it. So please, share the recording, share it everywhere, and let's go and have lots of fun. So love and blessings to you all, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. See you.